Chapter 11. What's the matter with Alvin? I was still worried about lightning striking me, making me crispy on the outside and tender on the inside when I popped out of bed the next morning. But I wasn't worried for long, on account of it took my clothes 5 seconds to jump on me, according to Calvin's scientific stopwatch. Then it took me 1 second to notice that there was a police car in our driveway. It was the best thing that had ever parked in our driveway. I was speechless. "Come on, let's go," Calvin said excitedly. We hurried downstairs. My mom had already left for work and taken Annabelle to daycare, and my dad was in the driveway talking to a policeman. "What happened, Dad?" asked Calvin. "Looks like the lightning took out our kitchen tree last night," said my dad. I gasped. Sure enough, our kitchen tree, which was also the biggest tree in our yard, was split clean through. Half of it had fallen and smashed a part of the fence into smithereens. The other half was a burnt finger pointing upward at the exact spot in the sky where a finger of lightning had pointed downward to zap it. Gulp. "Hot vengeance and the rod of heaven. Worst damage I've seen in years," said the policeman, shaking his head. "Normally, Concord doesn't attract lightning like that. You're lucky it didn't hit your house, son." He looked me smack in the eye. Wow, yellow tape everywhere, the smell of roast tree and wet leaves, a police car in my driveway, a policeman calling me son. It was a regular crime scene. The gang waiting for the school bus at the bottom of my driveway was staring with their mouths wide open. And when we got on the bus, there was a hushed silence as I marched up the aisle. Heads turned, seats shifted. "Man," said Pinky. "Dude," said Eli. "Hey," said Scooter. Normally, none of them says anything to me, and all the seats with the gang are taken, and I have to sit with the girls. But today, things were different. There was a police car in my driveway. It was my lucky day. I slipped into the seat next to Hobson. He was so impressed by everything that he was still craning his neck to look out the window when the bus pulled away. Hobson whistled. "Man," he said, "I wish I could get a police car in my driveway." I swung my feet. I held up my chin. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw Flea. She was shooting eye darts in my direction from her non-pirate eye. Then she looked down and began reading a book. I have no idea what that meant. Girls are strange. One day they make all sorts of plans to talk to you, and the next day they ignore you completely. So I ignored her too, and I pulled out Calvin's stopwatch. It sure was marvelous. Press the green button and the seconds flash by. Press the red button and everything stops. "What's that for?" asked Hobson. "You can't set a world record without a stopwatch," I said. Then I showed him my list. World records by Alvin Ho. Number 1, most apples split in a minute in midair with a samurai sword. Number 2, most baseballs pitched into a can in a minute. Number 3, most holes dug in a minute with a stick. Number 4, most balls juggled in a minute in midair while standing on a chair. Number 5, longest hoop shot in the history of the world. "You really going to do all that?" asked Hobson. "Yup," I said. Hobson turned and stared out the window again. I was this close to getting an invitation to his party. The backpacks on the bus went thumpity-thump. The lunch boxes on the bus went clickety-clack. The blank on the bus went blank. Oops, something was missing. Something that's usually rattling on the bus wasn't rattling. It wasn't even there. What was it? I scratched my ear. I picked my nose. Where was my PDK? "Oh no," I cried. I was so excited to see the police car in my driveway this morning that I'd forgotten my PDK. I've never gone to school without my PDK. "Stop the bus," I cried. "Turn around. It's an emergency. I forgot my PDK." But the noise on the bus went round and round. The fighting on the bus went back and forth. No one heard me. No one even turned around. And our driver, who yells, "Simmer down, or it's straight to the principal's office for you," when someone's having an outburst, said nothing. My head spun, my saliva dried up, my liver shriveled. What was I going to do without my PDK? Cry. I bawled full blast. I howled and wailed. My nose ran like soup. My eyes puffed out like marshmallows. Crying is really terrific. Usually everything is better afterwards, but not this time. Fwoomp! I tripped coming off the bus. Swat! A door swung open and flattened me like a fly. Oof! A backpack knocked me over. By the time I staggered into Miss P's classroom, it was no longer my lucky day. Miss P took attendance, and then she said something about going straight away to the cafeteria, so I grabbed my lunchbox and got into a line behind her and followed everyone down the hall. When we got to the cafeteria, there was a lot of shuffling and pushing. Kids were standing in long, snaky lines. "What's the matter with Alvin?" asked Jules as we were standing there. Heads turned. "He forgot his PDK," said Naya. Silence. "He doesn't have the right shirt on," said Sam. More heads turned. My head turned too, and I noticed something funny. Sam, who usually has a bad hair day, was having a good hair day. A very good hair day. His hair was parted on one side and slicked down with gel. In fact, quite a few of the guys had gel in their hair, and they were all wearing shirts with collars and khaki pants, just like the guys who deliver packages. I didn't know why I hadn't noticed it on the bus, or the girls in their nice outfits. Even Miss P looked different. She had on her best hair, fresh from the beauty parlor. Her shoes were shiny, and her smile was lovelier than usual. She might have even brushed her teeth. "Miss P!" yelled Flea, who's always trying to be helpful. "Alvin needs a shirt." Miss P rushed over. "Oh, Alvin," she said, bending down to look at me. "Did you forget it was picture day?" "Picture day? I had no idea it was picture day." "Don't worry," said Miss P. "After one of the boys gets his picture taken, you can borrow his shirt." "You can have mine," said Eli, as soon as Miss P walked away. Then he took off his shirt and gave it to me just like that. But then Eli didn't have a shirt on. So Naya said that Eli could borrow his shirt. Then Naya was shirtless. Then Sam took off his shirt and gave it to Naya. Then Sam was shirtless. This made Scooter rip off his shirt so fast a button went flying. "You can borrow mine," he said to Sam. "Thanks," said Sam, putting it on and buttoning up the remaining buttons. Then Scooter was shirtless. Then Jules said Scooter could borrow his or her shirt as long as Scooter didn't wipe his nose on the sleeve on account of Scooter had a cold, as anyone could see. Then Jules was shirtless, but no one knows for sure whether Jules is a boy or a girl, so then the girls began trading shirts and dresses, and a shirt got passed to Jules, who put it on, but then Flea was shirtless, so then I took off my shirt, which wasn't really my shirt, and gave it to Flea. I think it was the gentlemanly thing to do since I hadn't been so nice to her the day before and never did call to apologize. And giving her the shirt off my back, as everyone knows, is a very good apology. "Thanks, Alvin," said Flea. "No problem," I said with my eyes. Then I looked at Calvin's stopwatch. It said 29 seconds, which was probably a world record for borrowing shirts. It was terrific. But Miss P was not impressed, and neither was the lady with the camera. Several of us were shirtless, including me, and it took quite a while for us to get our pictures taken on account of there was a silly new rule that Miss P made up on the spot. If you had a shirt on, you had to keep it on, which meant that only one shirt was passed around to the shirtless, and we had to wait our turn. This took 32 minutes and 54 seconds. Finally, it was time to sit for our big class picture, the one that we would treasure forever, where everyone is in it, including our teacher, Miss P, who is very nice. First, there was a mad scramble for shirts. Then there was a mad shuffling of bodies. "Tall kids in the back," said the lady with the camera. "Medium kids in the middle. Small kids in the front. Shuffle, shuffle. Push, push." "What's the matter with Alvin?" I heard someone ask when we were all finally in place. Nothing was the matter with me. Someone was just jealous. I was in the front row holding the sign in my hand that said Miss Pestalozzi, grade 2, which is like holding your prisoner number on your chest. Then I looked down. My shirt was kind of weird. There were strange little ribbons on it and something frilly. Worse, it was pink. Oh no! Somehow I was wearing a girl's shirt. If I hadn't forgotten my PDK, none of this would have happened. My head hung low, and that's when I saw. I wasn't in a shirt at all. I was in a dress. "Smile," said the lady with the camera. Then everything went white.